What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Nash, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to build an advanced calculator using Python. Now, if you watched my previous video, which was covering the basics of this one is a little more advanced. So to get started here, as you can see, I've already started on the code. First off, I have a comment here, and after this I have a bunch of print options, which are going to be the options that we have, right? So the first one is going to print add, and 1 for add, and then 2 for subtract, 3 for divide. These are going to be the numbers that the user has to input if they're trying to pick an option, whether it's multiplying or dividing. So let's go ahead and close this here. All right, I want to show what happens when I run this code. As you can see down here, we can see that it's printing add, subtract, divide. So since now that we have these options on the screen here, I'm going to go ahead and allow user input, right? So to do this, I'm going to go ahead and create a variable, and this variable is going to be called operation. So go ahead and type that in. So operation, I think that's how you spell it, is equal to it's going to be input, which is going to be the user input. So we're going to be using a bunch of if statements, which are going to allow us to have different options, right? All right, so if operation is equal to 1, so now we want to make this 1 into a string, not an integer. So if you type it in as a number here, it is going to be an integer. So we want this to be a string. The user inputs this 1 here, which is a string up here, and it's going to match our input. So if we just had an integer, it would give you an error message, simply because this is a string and you're trying to read an integer right here. So, all right, so let's go ahead. We have our if statement here. Now we're going to do the math related to this if statement. So let me go ahead and hit tab. All right, so we're going to do num1, kind of like we did in the previous video. If num1 is equal to input, right, we're getting the user input. I'm going to open this up, and let's have some text in here. We can say enter the first say number, something like that, and then I can all right, so now we have this. We can do the same thing for 2 here. So we do num 2. All right, so now that we have our 2 numbers here, so these are going to be the inputs, right? All right, so since this operation is for option 1, which is the first one up here, which is going to be adding, that's the method we're going to be doing here. So let me go ahead and I go to the next line. I'll go ahead and tab in here. So I'm going to go ahead and print. All right, so we're going to print some text here that says the answer is, and after this, we're going to go ahead and close the quote, and we can actually do the math. So we can do num1 plus num2. Okay, we can go ahead and close this. Now let's go ahead and run this and see what happens here. So I'm going to go ahead and run the code. All right, now down here, this is where we're going to be able to add our input. We're going to go ahead and click 1, enter. Now it's going to ask me to enter the first number. So let's do 5, and we're going to enter the other one. Let's do 5 again. Now the answer is 55. Now once again, we have the same problem. So what Python is doing here is taking these 2 numbers as strings or text, and is just combining them. So that's why you get 55, right? These 2 5s combined. Now to fix this, what we could do is we can say plus, and then we'll say int. Then I'm going to open parenthesis. I'll do num1, right? Now close this and do plus, and then another int, open up, and then num2, okay? And then I close the other parenthesis. Now let's see what happens when I do this. I'm going to run this, do the same thing. We'll do 1, and then let's do 5, and then 5, and then now we have another error message. All right, so now if we look at the error message here, it says that, let's go back here, let's go down here. So it says that you can only concatenate string or str, not an int. So concatenation is us adding this math over here. So it's saying that it has to be a string, right? But we need to convert this into an int to actually do the math, but then we also need to convert it back into a string so it can be concatenated with our answer. So to do this, let me go ahead and copy this, or just close this. All right, so to fix this, here's what we could do. So we have plus, we can say str, right, for a string. open parenthesis, and we can do our other math here. I'm just gonna go ahead and paste what we had. So now we have a string, and then we have our int num1 plus int num2. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and then I'm also gonna close the string parenthesis. I'm also gonna close the print parenthesis, right? So you should have this much. So now let's try this. I'm gonna go ahead and run this. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and type in 1. I'm gonna do 5 and another 5. Now you see that we have 10 here, right? We don't have any errors or anything like that. All right, so to sum this up, we have our user input over here, which is taking in this here, right? It's gonna take in the options that we have presented up here. Now we have an if statement that says if the input, which is right here, is 1, right? Which is going to be add, then it's going to do this task here. All right, so the first input is going to be the first number, which is stored in this variable here, which is num1, and we're going to take the user input. Same thing as here, right? So when you type these numbers in there, when it's asking you to enter the first number, it is going to take it as a string, right? As a text. Now, when you go down here, right, we have our print here, and we have some text in here, a string in here, and then we concatenate with this. So what's happening here is we have our num1 and num2, right? Or number 1 and number 2. We can't just add these in here simply because they are a text, right? Now we add an int in order to convert these to integers or numbers, so we can actually do the math. Once we have the numbers, you're not going to be able to combine this and numbers here, right? You have to make it into another string. So to convert the answer that we have from this math into a string, we use str, right? So we have everything in here. All right, so that is pretty much the logic here. So to do the other options, I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter. Now we're gonna do an else if, which is a elif, kind of like that. And now we can do operation is equal to 2. Okay, now the second option is going to be subtracting. Okay, that, and it's the same logic here. So what I could do here, I can just copy this, right? I'm gonna paste it down here. So we're just gonna change this operation here. I'm gonna go ahead and hit minus to subtract that. Actually, I want to do subtract, and let's test it out. I'm gonna go ahead and run this. All right, so here I'm gonna go ahead and pick 2 as the option. I'm gonna do 10 minus 5. It should give us 5. The answer is 5. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing here for our next option, which is going to be 3 for divide. So let's go ahead and type in 3 in here and just change the operation here into /, and we can try this out. I'm going to run the code. Now we're going to do 3, and we'll do 10 divided by 5. You should get 2. All right, cool. Now lastly, we have our last option here, which is going to be 4, which is 4, which is going to be multiply. So here, put in asterisk, and let's try it out. I'm going to go ahead and run the code, and we're going to do 4, and we'll do 5 times 5. We get 25. All right, so to end this, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do an else statement. So else, and then this is do tab and then print. We can do something like if someone enters anything other than our options here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We kind of like want to safeguard against that. So we can say invalid, something like that, entry. So we can do something like that. So let me go ahead and run this. All right, so now let's say I tried to put in 5, right? We're going to get an invalid entry simply because that is not one of our options here. Now, if you want to make this look a lot better here, you can add something like enter your option, something like that here. Then we can close this. All right. Now, if I run this again, let's go ahead and run the code. Now you can see that it says enter your option. I think that looks a lot better. Let's go ahead and give it a little like that, and then a little space here. Then we'll close this out. Okay. So enter your option. We'll do 3, and then the first number is we're gonna do 3 is actually divide, so we could do 100 divided by 10. Now we have our answer is 10. All right, so that is pretty much it when it comes to how you can build a calculator with more options using if statements in Python. All right, so the code is going to be in the description below if you don't want to type all this out, but I do recommend doing this on your own so you can actually learn. But thank you so much for watching. Make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and also make sure to like the video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.